Let's start today with a pretty obvious statement. Things change. Think about it. You probably don't listen to the same music that you did 3 years ago. Your wardrobe is probably different than it was in 5th grade. And you probably look a little different than you did when you were in elementary school. These are changes that are, for the most part, expected. No one expects to look the same way as they did in elementary school as they do in high school. But there are also changes that are unexpected, changes that feel like they show up out of nowhere. And unlike changes in fashion trends and musical taste, these types of changes can be a little more difficult to navigate through. For example, maybe you've had a friendship or a group of friends that changed. Maybe you moved to a new location. Maybe you moved to a different neighborhood, town, state, and now you're figuring out that landing in a new place isn't easy to navigate. Maybe you had an injury, or maybe your family's experiencing a financial challenge. See, unexpected changes have a way of disrupting our lives. See, it doesn't matter who you are. Unexpected change affects all of us. We want something, some place, some person, or a group that stays the same when nothing else feels secure. For a lot of people, family is that thing. For others, well, family has never been that safe or secure of a place. But for all of us, there's the idea that either from our own experience or a belief that we have that family should be consistent. So when change happens in a family, it can be much more difficult to deal with. No matter what our experience is with change, something about it happening in our families makes it more difficult. So how do we get better at handling it? How do we navigate it without becoming bitter or cynical? How can we be better prepared for it? Well, there's a writer in the Old Testament from the book of Ecclesiastes, who many people believe was King Solomon, that had a lot to say about change. Solomon was an ancient king in Israel, and God blessed him with incredible wisdom. In the passage that we're going to look at, Solomon is writing about some things that he observed in his lifetime. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. It reads, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to scatter stone and a time to gather them, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. It's a very poetic way of saying, everyone get ready. Change is coming. It is gonna happen. Nothing stays consistent. The things that you're experiencing today will look different tomorrow. This is the world that we all live in. So we may as well get used to it. He's letting us know that everything will change at one point or another. Instead of fighting that change and pretending like things will always stay the same, we can open our hands and give up control. God is fully aware of everything that changes in our lives. In the book of Isaiah, we learn about a message that God had for his people. It says they had been forced to leave their homes and live in a land with people who didn't like them or their way of life. And in the midst of that, this is what God said to them. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. When everything around them was changing, God did it. In every single moment and season of change, including family change, God is with us. See, we can't control the people in our families. And as much as we want our families to be stable and consistent, it doesn't always happen that way. So since we can't stop change and we can't control people, what do? Well, we can start by focusing on our mindset, thinking, attitude, and our perspective. We can change the way that we look at change. Think of it this way. When your family goes through rough waters, your mindset can see you through. When someone in your family moves out, your mindset matters. When someone moves in, your mindset matters. You can't control the external circumstances, but you can work on your attitude and your perspective. you can remember that God is with you, even when they aren't. And here are a few steps to help you work on that. Understand that change will happen. This is why this passage in Ecclesiastes is so powerful. There's a time for everything. Change is bound to happen. Understanding that doesn't make it easier to handle, but at least now we know that it's a reality of life that everybody deals with. Remember and know that God is with you. Like Isaiah writes, whether you pass through waters or walk through fire, God will not leave you alone. And whatever change you face in your family, God will be right there with you, helping you and comforting you. Trust that God can use that change to change you. God can use our time of change and adjustment to grow us in ways we may have never expected. God can do something in and through our time of change, but we have to think long term. However bad it feels right now, it won't feel this way forever. When we have a long-term view, we know that there's something after this. We just might not see it yet because God isn't done yet. And if we begin to see change this way, we can embrace it as something that can take us somewhere good. Change has the potential to be something that causes us to grow, mature, and become more of who God designed us to be. Without question, change is difficult. Whatever it is, it's not easy, especially when it comes to family.